my husband tested positive for COVID. I talked to him just a few minutes ago. He's doing fine. He's feeling good. I tested negative this morning. I am going to keep my schedule. I am, according to CDC guidelines, I am keeping masks. And so I'd like to go in and see the program here. Learning loss as an educator means a lot to me. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, with me now, NBC's Mike Memoli at the White House for us. Yamiche Alcindor's on set with me. Dr. Vin Gupta, a MSNBC medical contributor, joining us as well. Memoli, let me just go to you first, if you would, and just kind of reset what you know so far about how the president's doing and what's being done to monitor his condition during this time.
Well, Yasmin, we just heard in the last half hour or so from Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who is the president's chief physician, has been his chief physician since his time as vice president, so a long relationship. He indicated that, yes, the president is experiencing mild symptoms, a runny nose, a little bit of fatigue. These symptoms began late last night. We understand the president actually had a bit trouble sleeping, in fact, and that he was tested this morning, first an antigen test, and then when that showed a positive result, they confirmed it with a PCR test. He is now isolating at the White House. He will be monitored. He has been given Paxlovid, of course, that treatment, which Dr. O'Connor indicates has been one that shows positive results in most of those who receive it, and that they would continue monitoring his symptoms over time. It's worth reminding, Yasmin, what the COVID protocols are within the White House at this point, because I just, in fact, last week had a number of conversations with the White House, because this was the matter of not just official intrigue given the rise of the BA.5 variant. I was asking the White House if they were reevaluating the protocols at this point, potentially strengthening them given the concern about it. But it was also a matter of diplomatic intrigue, because you'll remember just before the president left for that Middle East trip, the White House actually said he would try to actually limit his physical interaction with the officials he was meeting because of concern about the transmissibility in part of the BA.5 variant. Now, that explanation struck some as odd, because we know what was on the itinerary for the president, a meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, and there was some suggestion that these new protocols for the president, limiting handshakes, other physical contact with officials, was sort of a convenient excuse. Now, we know, of course, the president did not shake hands with the Crown Prince, but ultimately fist bumped with the Crown Prince. He did shake hands with a number of the other officials there. But the White House last week, in fact, ran me through what the current protocols are, and I want to share them with you because I think they're relevant at this state. First, that any individual at the White House who is scheduled to have a meeting with the president that day is, first of all, almost always wears masks, as this official put it. They try to have these meetings in socially distant settings when possible, and those officials are also tested the morning of those meetings out of an abundance of caution. Now, they noted, of course, that the president's testing regimen had largely remained consistent through his time in office, often twice a week, often Monday and Thursday, but that those days would vary depending on the president's travel. So it's notable, of course, today is Thursday, a day when he typically would have been given a test just as a matter of that regular testing regimen. And then this was something of a back and forth with the White House last month as well, because it seemed that the White House was actually stepping back from regular disclosure publicly of those positive tests. During the campaign, when I was covering every day of the Biden campaign, once we entered the COVID era, each and every time the president then candidate was tested, they released those results proactively. More recently, though, the White House was not necessarily answering reporters' questions about when his most recent tests were. Last week, it's worth noting, they did release those proactively because it was relevant to his travel. Our colleague Kelly O'Donnell actually pressed Karine Jean-Pierre just on Monday about whether she would release any follow-up testing after his trip. And in fact, they did release initially a negative test on Tuesday. So this issue of how the White House protocols are, typically they took great pride in these protocols because up till this point, the president had not been diagnosed with COVID-19. He was able to get through that whole fall campaign and through the first year and a half. Yesterday it actually was a full year and a half in office for President Biden without receiving COVID. But at the same time, White House officials had always indicated that it was possible he would get it. They weren't shying away from that fact, and that in this moment, and we've seen that moment now come, he would be given the best care, and that their level of concern about what would happen was minimal at this point. But naturally, of course, we're going to hear from the White House and from Dr. Jha later today, in which we'll get more information about what happens now moving forward.
And we just got some news on that, Mike, as you were talking. We're going to be getting these daily briefings, of course, on the president's condition as he continues to test positive. And we're learning now at 2 p.m. Eastern time, both White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre and Dr. Ashish Jha will be addressing the nation per the president's condition as he continues to grapple with his COVID diagnosis.